or you can just move the camera and make
I
everybody
didn't
throw
mean
up who's
to.
watching it. Nice job. Chapter 12, page 49, page 82, or wherever you are on your device. Thank you, Sid. We ended with Jim in the apple barrel. And now it jumps straight into the next second later, which is, it says, there was a great rush of feet across the deck. Why is there a bunch of feet going? Why is everybody running? Jeremiah?
They're like all trying to like see and try to get out.
Yeah, they're all trying to see what?
Land?
The land, because the guy just yelled, the guy in the crow's nest yelled, "No! There's land out there." I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin and the forecastle, and slipping in an instant outside my barrel, I dived behind the foresail, made double, which means ran fast, towards the stern, the back of the ship, came out upon the open deck in time to join Hunter and Dr. Livesey in the rush for the weather bow. So, everybody's running, nobody sees it. He climbs out and realizes, I've got to join the crowd. So he runs around the back of the ship. Gotta get my ship, I don't have it. He runs around, he was about here on the apple barrel, right? So he runs around the back of the ship. Oh, that's the poop deck. Then he runs back around this way and catches up with Dr. Livesey on this side. And everybody wants to come back to the front of the ship. We call it the weather bow. So they can see what's in the distance. Put the guy in the crow's nest up here, it's seen. There, all hands were already congregated. A belt of fog had lifted almost simultaneously with the appearance of the moon. Away to the southwest of us, we saw two low hills, and about a couple of miles apart, and rising behind one of them, a third and higher hill, whose peak was still buried in the fog. All three seemed sharp and conical in figure. Who's got a map that they made? That was required for today, was to have a map. You go ahead, everybody get your map out. If you don't have your map out, please do. And he just made a point that they're traveling to the southwest. So while you're getting this out, imagine I'm the front of the ship, and so what direction would we be traveling if we're heading to Treasure Island? Well, we're coming from England. Up here was the map that I had. I can't, my Promethean board's not working right now. But we had England up here. We're going to the Caribbean down here. So we're traveling around, and we're probably coming at it to the south-southwest, right? So if we're looking this way, that would be south, probably south. And so if they're going to look to the southwest, it's probably over here to our right. Okay. So if you look at your map, we're coming from up here. And he sees three conical things, hills, and one that's really big. What's the really big one? Spyglass Mountain, right? We know that. And since we're coming from the south, the map here, we'd be coming from this direction, but the island is actually almost like, if you laid it flat, you're looking at it from this direction. You're looking at it from this angle. You're coming from the northeast, heading south-southwest. So we're trying to get a bearing here. It's called getting your bearings of where are we at on our map. And you're about to just get onto your map. So much I saw almost in a dream, for I had not yet recovered from my horrid fear of a minute or two before. What had happened a minute or two before? Yeah?
Silver was gonna find a way how to take all the money or the cash from the head.
Yeah, he's thought, Long John Silver is thinking of how he's going to take over all the treasure. When does he say he wants to take over and kill everybody? When's he going to do it? Yeah, when they're about to leave. Once they help us load up everything on the ship, then we strike. So Jim's carrying this on his heart, and nobody knows what he knows. Then I heard a voice of Captain Smollett issuing orders. The Hispaniola was laid a couple of points nearer the wind, and now sailed the course that would just clear the island on the east. So, the Hispaniola is coming from the northwest, but it says it's going to pass the island on the east. So everybody point to the east side of your island. Point to the east side of your island. All right, the far east side. It says we're going to pass along the eastern coast. So imagine that. Up here, it would probably be on the right side. The boat, if we were looking from above, the boat's coming in from the north and it's going to pass it on the eastern side. And now then, when all was sheeted home, has any one of you ever seen that land ahead?
I have, sir, said Silver. I've watered there with a trader I was cooking.
The anchorage is in the south, behind an islet, I fancy. Asked the captain.
Yes, sir, Skeleton Island, they calls it.
Everybody draw their skeleton island. The skull in the lower right-hand corner. If you have it, better make sure you've got a skull in the lower right-hand corner, because that's Skeleton Island. And the anchorage, what's an anchorage? You guys have heard of Anchorage, Alaska, right?
No.
That's a city in Alaska. What's an anchorage? Us land lovers, we don't really know what they are. What's an anchorage?
When you anchored and to stop the boat, maybe?
Yeah, that's the place we would drop the anchor so the boat doesn't float away. And you want it to be the calmest place. And it says here on our map, right here is where you were supposed to put an anchor. That's the place where we want to end up and put our boat. It's called Kids Anchorage. We'll find that out in a moment. So we want to get around Skeleton Island and then put our boat in the lower southeast corner, almost the Florida of our map.
It were a main place for pirates once, and the hand we had on board knowed all their names for it.
Now, I don't really know the place, but a guy I know knows that pirates used to be here. Thanks, Long John. We know you're a liar.
That hill in the north they call it Foremast Hill. There are three hills in a row running southward, fore, main, and mizzen. But the main, that's the big one with a cloud on it. They usually calls that the spyglass. By reason of a lookout they kept when they was on an anchorage cleaning. Of course, there they cleaned their ship, sir, asking your pardon.
The pirates would clean their ship, and they would send a guy up on spyglass to see if anybody was coming. Cleaning their ship? What does that mean? Oh yeah, they go, there's a car wash there, a boat wash, guys there. No. Clean their ship?
Cleaning out the gold.
Yeah, emptying out the gold, all the blood, of all the fighting they had, killing everybody. Throw the guys who died off overboard, clean the ship. That's why you ask your pardon. Like, I know it's kind of bad business. Another euphemism. Gentlemen of fortune, cleaning the ship. When you live a terrible life, you've got to come up with nicer ways to put things. All right?
But I have a chart here.
Says Captain Smollett.
Let's see if they've passed the place.
The chart. The map. The thing that was in Flint's fist. Thing they were all fighting.
You'd have $1 million. You'd be willing in a coach if you could find it.
Pew was like, if we could just get our hands on that map. And now here Long John Silver has been trying to find this thing for years. And they unroll it. Long John's eyes burned in his head as he took the chart. But by a fresh look of the paper, I knew he was doomed to disappointment. Long John Silver's going to be disappointed. This was not the map we found in Billy Bones' chest, but an accurate copy, complete in all things, names, heights, and soundings, with the single exception of the red crosses and written notes. All those notes on the back, not there anymore. Foremost Hill, east, northeast, Skeleton Island. Not there, the directions. And then there's crosses to tell us where to go. They made a copy of the map.
Wait, who made it?
Captain Smollett must have. Remember he said he didn't really trust this cruise? Pretty good move.
It's not so where's the map?
That's a great question. Let's put that up there. Who's got the real map? Sharp as he must have been in his annoyance, Silver had the strength of mind to hide it.
Yes, sir. This is a spot to be sure, and very prettily drawn out. Who might have done that, I wonder?
That's his little way of saying this ain't the real map. It's really well drawn. I doubt a pirate drew this one. This one's really nice.
The pirate's too ignorant, I reckon. Aye, Captain. Here it is. It's Captain Kidd's Anchorage. That's the name my shipmate called it. It's a strong current runs along the south, and then away northward up the west coast. Right you was, sir, says he, to haul your wind and keep the weather of the island. Leastways, if such your intention is to enter and careen, then there ain't no better place for that in these waters.
So go ahead and point to Skeleton Island, and then trace the southern part with your finger, Watson. The southern part of your map, and then go up along the west. He says Long John says there's a really strong current that will whip you around the island. If you were to try and come in from the west coast, you'd be fighting that current. The best thing to do is what you're doing is to come from the east, come around Skeleton Island, and park here in Kidd's Anchorage where it's kind of calm. All right?
Thank you, my man, says Captain Smollett. I'll ask you later on to give us help. You may go.
I was surprised at the coolness with which John avowed his knowledge of the island, and I own I was half frightened when I saw him drawing nearer to myself. Oh, here comes the guy who said he's going to kill me. He did not know, to be sure, that I had overheard his counsel from the apple barrel, and yet I had by this time taken such a horror of his cruelty, duplicity, and power that I could scarce conceal a shudder when he lay his hand upon my arm. Duplicity, what does that mean? His duplicity. Long John's duplicity. Sound like anything, yeah?
Was it like known?
Not quite. Not quite his duplicity. Case?
Is it like being like nice to someone at one time and like being bad behind their back?
Yeah, being almost, it sounds like the word double. Duplicitous. He's really nice to me, but he just said he's going to kill everybody on board.
Oh, it's nothing.
And I think a lot of people are duplicitous. They're just trying to figure out who they are. In middle school, you're all pretty duplicitous. Whatever helps you survive. Hopefully 7th grade's the best, worst years of your life. Okay? But we struggle with being duplicitous. Long John Silver, though, is calculated in his duplicity. He's not just a fake. He knows what he's doing all the time. All right? Caden, I didn't mean to strike a chord with you on duplicity. You with us? All right.
Oh, this is a sweet spot, this island. Sweet spot for a lad to get ashore on. You'll bathe, you'll climb trees, you'll hunt goats, you will. You'll get aloft on them hills like a goat yourself. Why, it makes me young again. I was going to forget my timber leg, I was. It's a pleasant thing to be young and have 10 toes, and you may lay to that. When you want to get a bit of exploring, you just ask old John. He'll put up a snack for you to take along.
Hey, buddy, if you're going to want to go party and run around and go swimming, you're going to find tons of cool stuff on this island. I'll pack you a lunch if you want to. And in your mind, you're like, yeah, poison it.
Or just send me with a lunch and leave me.
Yeah, oh yeah, you'll ditch me. And clapping me in the friendliest way upon the shoulder, he hobbled off forward and went below. Captain Smollett, the squire, and Dr. Livesey were talking together on the quarterdeck, and anxious as I was to tell them my story, I durst not interrupt them openly. While I was still casting about my thoughts to find some probable excuse, Dr. Livesey called me to his side. He had left his pipe below, and being a slave to tobacco, or a smoking addict, had meant that I should fetch it. But as soon as I was near enough to speak and not to be overheard, I broke out immediately. Doctor, let me speak. Get the captain and the squire down to the cabin, and then make some pretense to send for me. I have terrible news. Thank you, Jim, he said quite loudly. That's all I wanted to know, as if he had asked me a question. And with that, he turned on his heel and rejoined the other two. They spoke for a little together, and though none of them started or raised his voice or so much as, it was plain enough that Dr. Livesey had communicated my request. For the next thing I had heard was the captain giving an order to Job Anderson, and all hands were piped on deck. Job, get everybody up here. My lads, I've a word to say to you. This land that we have sighted is the place we have been sailing to. Mr. Trelawney, being a very open-handed gentleman, as we all know, has just asked me a word or two, and as I was able to tell him that every man on board had done his duty, alow and aloft, as I never asked to see it done better, why, he and I and the doctor are going to go down below to the cabin to drink to your health and luck. And you'll have grog served out for you to drink our health and luck. I'll tell you what I think of this. I think it handsome. And if you think as I do, you'll give a good sea cheer for the gentleman that does it. Ahoy! The cheer followed. That was a matter of course. But it rang out so full and hearty that I confess I could hardly believe that these same men were plotting for our blood. They loved to drink so much they almost forgot that, oh yeah, we're planning on killing these guys in a few days. One more cheer for Captain Smollett, cried Long John, when the first had subsided. Hooray! And this was also given with a will. On the top of that, the three gentlemen went below. Not long afterward, I was sent for. Word was sent forward that Jim Hawkins was wanted in the cabin. They found a way to get away, and now they're asking Jim, what's the problem? Now, Hawkins, said the squire, you have something to say? Speak up. I did as I was bid, and as short as I could make it, told the whole details of Silver's conversation. Nobody interrupted me till I was done, nor did any one of the three of them make so much as a movement. They kept their eyes upon my face from first to last. Jim, said Dr. Livesey, take a seat. And they made me sit down at a table beside them, poured me out a glass of wine, filled my hands with raisins, and all three, one after the other, and each with a bow, drank my good health and their service to me for my luck and my courage. And they all get a distributing to minor charge. Now, Captain, said the squire, you were right and I was wrong. I owe myself an ass, and I await your orders. No more an ass than I, sir, returned the captain. I never heard of a crew that meant to mutiny but showed signs before. For any man that had an eye in his head to see this mischief and take steps according. But this crew, he added, beats me. Both of them are like, we're dumb. How did we not see this coming? You even mentioned it, that these guys, you didn't like these guys. And he's like, I just thought they were going to be okay. Captain, with your permission, sir, that's Silver. Very remarkable man. Long John Silver's the one who stooped us. He's leading them, and he's the one we trusted the most. He looked remarkably well from a yardarm, sir, returned the captain, but this is all talk. This doesn't lead to anything. I see 3 or 4 points, and with Mr. Trelawney's permission, I'll name them. You, sir, our captain, it's for you to speak, says Mr. Trelawney grandly. First point, we must go, because we can't turn back. If I gave the word to go about, they would rise at once. Second point, we have time before us, at least until this treasure's found. Third point, there are faithful hands. Now, sir, it's got to come to blows sooner or later. That's what I propose is to take time by the forelock. The saying is, come to blows some fine day when they least expect it. We can count, I take it, on your own home servants, Mr. Trelawney. Pause. What are the 3 points Captain makes? 3 points he makes as he's talking to these guys. Give me one. Serge?
Stretcher.
Darby?
They have time.
They have time. Take it by the forelock. Take it by the hair. But we've got time on our side because they're going to wait till we have the treasure on board. Second thing.
They have to go on.
Yeah, we have to keep moving. We got to act like we don't know. If we say, oh, I'm too scared, I want to go, then we're all dead. And the third one, Serge?
There's still faithful crew on board.
There's still some guys. Remember, the coxswain, his real hands was like, there's still some on it, ain't gonna change. There's still some guys who aren't so sure about it, right? So, we can count, I take it, on your own home servants, Mr. Trelawney, as upon myself. Yeah, you can trust my guys. Who are his three guys? I mentioned one of them at the beginning of the chapter.
Arrow.
No, Arrow is dead. He fell off drunk, they think. We think maybe Long John did a little bit more than that. Yeah? Hunter's one of them. Remember Haggard? Haggard's name in this? Got that picture of the guy who's named Haggard? He's on the ship. Redruth? You guys remember Redruth?
Yeah.
And then some other guy whose name sounds like a gal's. Joyce. You got Joyce, Hunter, and Redruth, his servants, that they mentioned was coming on this trip. 3, reckon the captain. Ours 3, reckon the captain. Ourselves make 7, counting Hawkins here. Now about the honest hands. Most likely Trelawney's own men, said the doctor, those he had picked up for himself before he lit on Silver. Nay, Hands was one of mine. Oh man, he'd even picked his real hands. Squire. And then what did Long John Silver do to the rest of the guys that Squire Trelawney had picked? Oh, that guy's no good. Remember in the letter we read? Oh, no, that guy's no good either. You know, that guy doesn't know what to do. Squire Trelawney hired a motley crew, didn't realize it. I did think I could have trusted Hans, added the captain. And to think they're all Englishmen, broke out the squire. So I could find it in my heart to just blow up the ship. Well, gentlemen, said the captain, the best that I can say is not much. We must lay to, if you please, and keep a bright lookout. It's trying on a man, I know. It would be pleasanter to come to blows, but there's no help for it till we know our men. Lay to and whistle for the wind, that's my view. Says whistle for a wind, just wait it out. Till we know who's on our side, there's nothing we can do. Jim here, said the doctor, can help us more than anyone. The men are not shy with him, and Jim is a noticing lad. Hawkins, I put prodigious faith in you. Remember at the beginning of the book, they were like, I don't know, this kid's naive, he gets tricked, but now they're like, these guys trust you. You kind of are a double agent, all right? You just keep doing what you're doing. These guys are you're gonna be our insider. So we trust you. And it's like, are you sure? I began to feel pretty desperate at this, for I felt altogether helpless. And yet, by an odd train of circumstances, it was indeed, all right, it is working. It was indeed through me that safety came. He says it was an odd set of circumstances, but it is through me that safety came. What does he mean? Yeah.
He thinks it's weird that they picked them, but they didn't.
They did. And then he says, indeed through me safety came. What does that mean? Come on, turn on your brains. What does it mean that safety came through Jim? Caleb?
Jim was a good guy.
Yeah, we hope so. Jeremiah, you're going to take another stab?
Yeah.
What?
He told them what was going to happen with Silver.
Yeah, he did, but he's telling us that in the future, he's going to be safety. He's the reason that they're safe. Folks, you're not being good readers. You're just expecting me to tell you. Grief?
All the guys who are the pirates trust him, so he might be able to like bring some of them.
Okay, maybe he'll sway some of them over to our side. Okay. Yep.
He might be the one that helps, like.
Who survives? Who survives this trip? Jim does. He's telling the story. And who else?
Doctor.
Dr. Livesey from the first, now you're being better readers. Don't forget what the authors told you. And the squire survives too. We don't know who else. Well, we know those three do, right? And so he's reminding us, hey, obviously I get out of this because I'm telling you the story. Somehow, I am part of why we survive, why we come to safety. Those of us that come to safety. In the meantime, talk as we please. There are only 7 out of 26 on whom we could rely. And out of these 7, 1 was a boy. So that the grown men on our side were 6 to 19. 6 to 19.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is flip your book, or not your book, your map over. And we're going to create a list of who's the good guys and the bad guys. All right? All right, so we want to we want to make it the long way, not the. I want portrait, not landscape. And we want to have good guys and then bad guys.
Do we use the whole thing?
You're going to have the left side be good guys and the right side be bad guys. And we'll keep recording for those of you at home that want to make sure you build this right. All right, who are the good guys that we know of? Group. Jim or Jane Hawkins, right? Who else? Dr. Livesey. Elizabeth.
Square.
Squire Trelawney.
Square.
That's fine. Kaylin?
Maybe the captain.
Captain, I hope he's good. Captain Smollett. Anybody else that we know is good? Yep.
Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter. Yep, Georgia. Yeah, not his slaves, but Redruth. That's the guy we call Hagrid, and who's the last one?
Joyce.
Joyce. All right. So you've listed them on the left. It's 7 people, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just pick it up. It doesn't have to be silly. Bad guys. Who's that? Yep.
Silver.
Long John Silver. Next up.
The crew.
Just write the crew down. We've got Israel Hands, right? We know is bad. We know that Dick's bad. That punk that switched over to the bad guys last chapter. And with the rest of the guys we don't know. So do we know any other characters' names?
No.
We had one just named the Botsson, Job Anderson. Right? Job Anderson. Now, for the rest of them, how many total crew is there other than the 7 we know are good? How many are there? What? 26 total, minus 7 would be 19. So, what you need to do is type, we're going to just type pirate, assume they're a pirate unless they turn good. Pirate, number, and then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't know anybody else's names yet. Then you type it all the way through, you write it all the way through until you get to pirate number 19. All right, so it's going to take you a moment to do that. So that's what we're going to do. So we got pirate 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Don't put just numbers. Put the actual, write the word pirate. Okay? Trust me on this. You want to actually write the word pirate. Just a moment. I gotta finish this, and I'm going to shut off the screen. And then we go pirate 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All right. And with this, we're going to keep track of everybody. We've got the map on the front to help us know where we are, and we have the list to help us keep track of the characters. Here we go.